Let me tell you my story.
My skin is always like this. Let's talk about sex.
And put an end to fossil fuel exploitation
To prevent environmental catastrophe.
Humans have been questioning the self for millennia, pondering questions like who am I, what are we, and what is the meaning of existence. And this we know to be the human condition. I decided to connect this condition with Buddhist philosophy. According to Buddhist philosophy, humans suffer because of the everyday illusions we become attached to. Those illusions being fear of vulnerability, fear of impermanence, and fear of isolation. Through astrology, through the metaphors and the symbolism behind astrology, I was able to go through this condition gracefully. There has been a great deal of isolated activity long before the astrological records could reach us, and these were set down in 7th century BC. Studies of Ice Age bone markings, for example, show us that men were aware of lunar cycles as far back as 32,000 years ago. The codes showing predictions came from positions of the planets, being the sun, the moon, the 5 known planets, and a mass of other phenomena, including comets and thunderbolts. So, before the outbreak of rationalism, astrology and astronomy were an identical subject. Because the rules of science were very relevant in order to understand extraterrestrial life forces. Astrology held such an importance that it was incorporated into educational systems. And later, the good that we could take away from astrology was extremely abused. And this started around 1800s, where frauds would then go on the streets, whether it was palm reading or any form of reading, and they would then take advantage of people's vulnerability and weaknesses and fears, saying that they had all the answers. And this is still very present today, and it's in our magazines, telling us like whether we're going to find our soulmate or whether money is coming in. And this really infuriates me because it takes away how special astrology is. For example, astrology, if I were to try and give you the full scope, you'd be sitting here for probably days. It's really not possible to explain in such a short amount of time. So, I'm going to try and explain it as briefly as I can. Each planet holds psychological value. An example being the moon. So, and each of these planets have something that we can take away, something that we can learn, good and bad. Something that we have to take caution in, and something that we need to value and honor. So the moon symbolizes our emotions, our instinctive reactions, and nurture. What we can learn from the moon is how to balance our emotions and how to understand them. And what we need to be cautious about is where our emotional anxieties can take us and where our fears can take us. So, I was interested in astrology ever since my mother told me that my astrological chart had been read, and by someone. And I've always felt such a connection and sense of belonging towards the planets because a huge part of my childhood was around the beach, where the sky was very present, where I had a full view of the stars and the moon and the sun. And as soon as I started to learn my astrological chart and how it could benefit me, of course, this fueled my curiosity for others. And I've always had such a curiosity for others as to like what's going on inside, because I know I have a lot going on inside. And I'm going to refer a lot going on inside to Lev Shestov's philosophy. Sorry. And So his philosophy explains no theoretical explanation for his philosophical problems. It is more web-like than linear, more explosive than argumentative. He believes that life itself is the last analysis, that no theory can solve the mysteries of life, not problem solving, but problem generating. And I think we all have an element of this inside us, where questions become more questions. And of course, this is fantastic, and we've come so far because of that. But I have personally experienced a sense of danger within that. So many open questions. With all of these open questions, I lost grasp of reality and my sense of identity. And I feel like astrology has saved me there because it gave me a tangible yet very dynamic reality. And with that understanding, my perspective of myself became extremely clear, rid of judgment and criticism and expectation. So the relationship with the self is extremely hilarious to me. No one knows yourself like you do. There are absolutely no boundaries as to what can go on in your mind. I can guarantee everyone in this room has been amazed and at the very same time disgusted as to where their mind has taken them. So one of the forms of suffering I decided to look at was the ego. First, let's define the ego. The ego is the sense of self, self-esteem, confidence, and worth. As my lovely philosophy teacher said, the ego wants to protect itself, the sense of self that will do anything not to suffer, even if it hurts others. So as we protect ourselves, we have the idea that life, events, experiences, people, friends, lovers are all against us. We build walls and build attachment to these walls because we are safe. And this gives a sort of strictness and rigidness to our experiences in life, which does not give space for change. Life is always changing. Change is the only constant in our lives. Relationships, special moments, love, well-being, this will all pass. The pleasures from these experiences make us want to hold on to them, to make them last forever. When we try to hold on to them, we suffer. And I've learned from the influence of the planet Pluto on how to cope with this aspect of my life. So, I want to bring a quote in for you all. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. By Karl Jung. So a crucial aspect of cultivating vulnerability is appreciating darkness as opposed to fearing it. What we fear is what gives us strength. So Pluto has helped me. As I said earlier, each planet has something to offer, something that we should honor and accept, and something that we need to take caution in. So Pluto symbolizes transformation, trauma, pain, control, and power. And this influence is often feared by many people. So the ego holds on to being safe and secure, but Pluto teaches us to let go and surrender to what we don't want to face, see, or accept, to carefully define and create a bond with the parts of ourselves we find disturbing so that we can be okay with being vulnerable. Another form of human suffering is alienation. So my experience with alienation started at a very young age, and started ever since I started to express my beliefs and who I was. And I was considered extremely weird. And this quote from Karl Marx says, "The unhappy consciousness is divided against itself, separated from its essence." So Marx is explaining that we are unique, and if we don't express that, we become unhappy. So my savior in this aspect of my life is the Aquarius. And this will not apply to all the Aquarians in the room at all, because no, because it's such a surface level as a whole in your astrological chart. This defines your sun sign, which you would all recognize as your star sign. So this is a short clip I made of the Aquarius, like part of my project, which was this art piece and examining other people's charts. So yeah, I'm just gonna...
In my solitude, you haunt me with reveries of days gone by. In my solitude, you taught me with memories that never die. I sit in my chair, I'm filled with despair. There's no one could be so sad, with gloom everywhere. I sit and I stare. I know that I'll soon go mad in my solitude. I'm frail, dear Lord above, send back my love. I sit in my chair, filled with despair. There's no one could be so sad.
So as you can see, the Aquarius has a really good skill at making other people feel uncomfortable, because they really don't care what other people think. And so they symbolize the black sheep, the revolutionist, the odd one out. And another example is this man, Peter Beard. So that is, and he is the epitome of an Aquarius. That is him inside a crocodile who he killed because he was trying to save the local kids, the local African kids, while on his quest in Africa, while trying to raise an awareness for poaching. And he stayed with the local tribes, and often it was normal that the crocodile would grab the kids. And yeah, that's him inside it. And yeah, an artist, poet, photographer, and that is also his blood on the painting. So the Aquarius teaches us the value of alienation. It shows how profound and unique we are, and to not ignore that no matter how painful it can seem. And this aspect about themselves show that they can overcome it just as much as they know how to suffer from it, like us all. To be okay with being weird, and that alienation is natural, and that it just leads us to the truth of who we are. So growing up, I learned how to observe my emotions, not become them, to find contentment and peace among all the chaos within life and the human condition. And I want to leave you all today with this quote by Karl. The cosmos is also within us. We're made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself better. Thank you.